Picture this. It's a Tuesday night. Your friend, completely normal person, is absolutely losing their mind, screaming at a TV, hugging strangers. Some people are crying. Some are on their knees. One guy just ran into the street. You ask what happened. Portugal scored. That's it. Portugal kicked a ball into a net and the world stopped. If you've ever watched a World Cup and felt like you were missing something, like everyone else got the memo and you didn't, again, this video is for you. Now let's start with a number that will genuinely mess with your head. 5 billion. B. Not $5 billion, not 5 billion views on a viral video, but 5 billion people engaged with the last FIFA World Cup in 2022. That's more than half the human beings alive on this planet. Every single country, every religion, every language, every income level, all watching the same thing, one thing. To put that in perspective, the Super Bowl, which is Americans treating it like a national holiday, pulls in about 115 million viewers in the US. The World Cup final in 2022 pulled in 1.42 billion viewers for one match, a single match. And this year's tournament, the 2026 World Cup, happening right now across the United States, Mexico, and Canada, is projected to go even higher. FIFA is projected up to 6 billion engagements. 6 billion. There are only 8 billion people on this earth. Here's the thing about football that non-fans don't immediately appreciate. The game itself is almost insultingly simple. 2 teams, 1 ball, 2 goals. You score by getting the ball in the net. You can't use your hands. That's it. And that simplicity, that's the whole point. Now, football is the only sport on earth you can play with literally nothing. No equipment, no court, no expensive gear. Kids in Brazil play in bare feet on dirt streets. Kids in Nigeria use plastic bags tied together as a ball. Kids in India kick a tin can between 2 stones. And it's the same game, the exact same game being played in the most expensive stadiums on the planet. That accessibility is why football became the world's sport and not something else. Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most famous humans alive, grew up on a tiny island called Madeira, Portugal, in a family so poor that his dad worked as a kitman at a local club just to get free access to football. Lionel Messi was told at age 11 that his growth hormone deficiency meant he'd never make it as a professional. His family couldn't even afford the $900 a month treatment he needed. Barcelona paid for it, and the rest is history. Every generation has that story. A kid from nowhere, against all odds, becoming something extraordinary. Football delivers those stories constantly. But how did this tournament even start? It's 1930, Uruguay, a tiny country in South America that most people couldn't find on a map, has just won Olympic gold in football, twice in a row. FIFA, the organization that runs world football, decides to create their first ever World Cup, and they give it to Uruguay. The problem? What's the problem? It's getting there. European teams had to spend 10 days on a boat across the Atlantic Ocean. Most of them didn't want to go. They were afraid they'd lose their jobs while they were away. This was during the Great Depression. Remember? Money was tight and jobs were scarce. Only 13 countries showed up. The entire first World Cup had 18 matches. Uruguay won, beating Argentina 4-2 in front of 93,000 people in Montevideo. That was 1930. And this year, 48 teams, 104 matches, 16 stadiums across 3 countries, and an estimated 6 billion people watching. From 13 teams to half the world in under 100 years. You need to understand what the World Cup actually means to a country. When you watch football and you turn on a match at the World Cup level, you're not really watching 22 people kick a ball around. You're watching a country carry all of its hopes, its identity, its pride, compressed into 90 minutes. In 2005, The Ivory Coast qualified for the World Cup for the first time. The country was in the middle of a civil war. The North and South hadn't spoken in years. People were dying, but when the national team qualified, the captain, Didier Drogba, one of the best strikers of his generation, got on live television and begged both sides to stop fighting, to lay down their weapons just for the World Cup. And they did. A football team did what politicians couldn't. In 1998, Iran and the United States, two countries that hadn't had diplomatic relations in nearly 20 years, countries that were deeply hostile to each other, had to play each other in the World Cup group stage. The Iranian players walked into the pitch and handed white roses to every American player. They took a photo together. Two countries on the edge of something very dark, sharing a moment of peace because of football. And then there's the other side, the pain. Brazil in 2014. The World Cup was on home soil in Brazil and in the biggest stage possible, in front of their own people. Now, Brazil hadn't won on home soil since 1950. The entire country had been building to this moment for years, and in the semi-final, Germany beat them 7-1. 7-1 in Brazil, at home. Brazilian fans were photographed in tears, grown men sobbing in the streets, not because they lost a game, because losing at the World Cup on home soil felt like losing a piece of who they were. And that's what this tournament does. It makes you feel things that normal sport doesn't reach. June 22, 1986. Argentina versus England. Quarterfinal. Where? In Mexico City. This wasn't just football. Argentina and England had fought a real war just 4 years earlier. And now the two countries had to play each other in front of the world. In the 51st minute, 5'5" Argentine named Diego Maradona jumped for a ball with the English goalkeeper and punched it into the net with his hand. The referee didn't see it. Goal given. When asked about it afterwards, Maradona, totally straight-faced, said it was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. The hand of God. One of the most controversial moments in sporting history. And then 4 minutes later, on the same pitch, against the same team, the same man produced what is officially voted the greatest goal in World Cup history. He received the ball in his own half, ran 60 meters, beat 5 English players individually, while the commentator completely lost his mind live on air, screaming, "What planet did you come from?" He scored. Maradona died in 2020. Hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets of Buenos Aires to say goodbye to a footballer. Because he wasn't just a footballer. The 2022 final between Argentina and France, widely called the greatest final ever played, ended with Messi, the 35 years old, finally lifting the trophy he chased his entire career. Grown men who had watched Messi play for 20 years were crying watching it happen. These moments get passed down. Your dad tells you about Maradona. You'll tell someone about Messi. And here's why the timing of this video matters. The 2026 World Cup is happening right now, as you're watching this video. And this one is different from any that comes before it. Because for the first time ever, 48 teams are competing. That's 16 more than usual. Which means 16 more countries with their own stories, their own heartbreaks, their own moments of impossible joy. More underdogs, more surprises, more of everything. And it's already breaking records. The opening weekend alone drew over 1 billion viewers worldwide. A single match, the US versus Paraguay, became the most watched soccer game in American television history with 27.5 million viewers. And the storylines right now are extraordinary. Cristiano Ronaldo, 41 years old, the most decorated player of his generation, is still in this tournament, still scoring, still carrying Portugal on his back. Well, now that could be controversial because some people disagree. And on the other side, an 18-year-old named Lamine Yamal, who plays like he's been doing this for 40 years. The old master versus the kid, who might replace him in history. And nobody knows who wins. This is what the World Cup does. It puts these stories in front of you, real ones, with real stakes, in real time, and dares you not to care. So, back to that Tuesday night. Your friend screaming at the TV because Portugal scored. Now you get it. That goal wasn't just a goal. It might have been Ronaldo keeping his World Cup alive. It might have been a country of 10 million people feeling like, for one night, they matter on the world stage. Football, and especially the World Cup, is the closest thing the human race has to a shared language. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you believe, what you earn. When the ball hits the back of the net, everyone understands. Bill Shankly, a legendary football manager, once said, "Some people think football is a matter of life and death. I can assure them it's much more serious than that." And he wasn't joking. If this filled in the gaps for you, and you want to actually understand what's happening in the matches right now, the players, the rivalries, why certain games matter more than the others, subscribe. Because that's exactly what this channel is. No jargon, no assumed knowledge, just the stories behind the game, told for people like us.